Welcome back to another session of Stelmo's Rants and Raves. I'm Stelmo. Let's get going. I'm reading this article by Michael Snyder. And let me say, I enjoy reading his columns from time to time. And if somebody asked me to describe him, I would certainly put him in the pessimist column. But so much of what he writes about, though, is real and true. And unfortunately, all too often, doesn't get play in the public airwaves that it should. And so his article is headlined, and let me read this to you. The crisis in the Strait of Hormuz is causing a shortage of Diet Coke in India. When I first read this, I laughed. I said, what else are we going to hear? But, when I read the article, Michael tells us that apparently India has passed a law that requires Diet Coke to only be put in cans, aluminum cans specifically. And apparently Asia imports a vast majority of its aluminum from the Middle East, and it has to go through the Strait of Hormuz in order to get to Asia. And of course, we all know that's not happening. So there's now an aluminum shortage. And, I put this in the category of the law of unintended consequences. I don't think there is any one person out there who is smart enough to actually know what all of the repercussions are going to be from this war. And I believe whatever those repercussions are, they're going to be aggravated because of the length of this thing. Look, we know the Iranians have never followed through on any agreement in the past. And there's little hope that whatever agreement could be reached that they're going to adhere to. And so, like it or not, Donald Trump has put his legacy on the line with this war. And it just seems to me that the best thing for Donald Trump's legacy is to finish the war, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and let's get back to worrying about things at home and worrying about the midterms. Instead, this thing is dragging out. And what I really worry about the most is what happens if the Iranians are able to hit something there in the Middle East, perhaps something in one of the major oil refineries or something, that's going to put it out for a number of years. This is not unreasonable to expect something like that. And Iran continues, even in a ceasefire, to send rockets towards people you would think that they are their friend than their enemy. And it's because these people are religious zealots that are in charge. No, not the average Iranian on the street. And, what's aggravating to me is that Donald Trump promised the people of Iran that he had their back. But it doesn't look like he really has. He also told them that, to stay off the roads, stay back in their homes. Their economy is shattered. I'm waiting to hear about mass starvation in Iran. Where is the food and stuff that's necessary to sustain? What is the population there? It's millions. I think around 90 million people. There are so many things that we're not even talking about or thinking about. I hate to say it, but many of these things we're ignorant of because we're not experts on all of this stuff. You got, and I don't even know the full number of ships that are now in a bottleneck, but just think of how many loads of whatever, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a load from the Middle East or oil. Could be any number of things. They could be emptying there in the Middle East and then waiting to go to who knows where. And none of that's happening. So the supply chain is going to take a massive hit, much like it did from the pandemic. And now they're putting another pandemic on us. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. The American people are sheep. They don't mind. They don't mind if they and their families are killed off. They really don't object to it. If they did, you would think they might be out in the streets protesting what's going on. Because my ultimate hope is that sometime I can come back on here and say, you know what? I was clueless. I really made a mountain out of a molehill. But you know what? I don't think so. No, not in the least. Our country is facing so many problems right now that make me question whether or not it could actually survive in the long term with this. We got our debt choking us, and we're going to have all of these problems. Many of the problems, I'm repeating myself, but many of these problems we have no clue about. Apparently, I believe we're going to find out about them at some point in the future. But who knows exactly when that's going to be, so that's problematic as well. And in starting this, I commented on how Michael is a pessimist, but certainly the world should be pessimistic about a lot of the things that are happening right now. The worldwide economy is in a collapse. I don't care what the government's telling us. I don't believe any of these numbers. I've said on a previous video, the inflation numbers are far higher than our government admits. And that's catastrophic because I believe that just about every month there are more and more people having to give up things such as medicine and food in order to meet their budgetary requirements. Gas now is over $4 a gallon, heading on $5 a gallon. And that's in the states that have the lower prices, generally speaking. Lower taxes, whatever causes them to have the lower prices. But they're all getting elevated, and they're taking big jumps. And I don't think we've seen the worst of it. And the reason is because everything is on hold right now. But while everything is on hold, the repercussions are growing exponentially. We don't have time to sit back. How long are we going to wait before we realize what should be crystal clear? And that is, you're never going to get a deal from these people that they'll agree to. I highly doubt they're going to allow the UN or any other person in there to check their compliance. Just not going to happen. Or if they do let them in, they're going to restrict them to certain areas, keep them out of the areas, which is what happened in the past. They have this long, long history of lying and deception, but yet for some reason the president wants to keep giving them chances. I don't get this. Now, I have to say, the president is certainly privy to a lot of classified information that I'm clueless about. And perhaps if I had that information, it might make his actions a little more understandable. But I just think we need to end this war. We need to open the Strait of Hormuz. I know Donald Trump got irritated when the German chancellor commented about how the Iranians were stringing out and making the Americans look like a fool. And Donald Trump can get mad at that. But more and more people by the day are coming to the same conclusion. Because it seems like an open-ended situation. We're going to apparently keep our Navy there forever. We don't have the money for these sustained operations. What we ultimately need to do is confiscate all these oil wells and pay back what they owe us for what we're having to do here. And I know they won't be happy about it, but that's just too bad. And certainly if we did that, it would make a lot of other reprobates that are out there in the world think twice and three times and four times about some of their actions, because they could find out that they're having a problem. But anyway, so no aluminum going to Asia, or in the alternative, very little aluminum going to Asia. And so people don't get their Diet Coke. And even though the article doesn't say, I believe and suggest that that would be just about all soda. And it's funny how, you don't, well, people never understand the law of unintended consequences. And there's always something that when there's a massive change that comes back and bites people. It's just the way of the world. That's what's going to happen here. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that it's not really that bad. And with that, I think I'm going to close. You all have a great day. Stay safe. It is a crazy world out there. It gets crazier by the day. Who knows where it's going to end up? But unfortunately, we have to live through this. Bye-bye.